Hey everybody, it's Peter and this is the Nissan Sentra. Now I recently did a vehicle on the Nissan Qashqai and I talked about how that vehicle has really moved a lot of Sentra buyers into the crossover market. But of course, the Sentra still exists and the Sentra has had a relatively recent redesign that makes it sort of sneakily competitive. A lot of people would look at this and say, okay, it looks like every other vehicle in the class, but there are a lot of safety features in particular in this vehicle and technology features that I think make it a standout. And because the Qashqai exists and does so well, they can make this a true sedan. So we're gonna talk about some of those true sedan type pieces as we do a complete in-depth review of this vehicle. And I'm gonna try to cover things that the other videos aren't covering. Now, if you wanna know more about this vehicle or any of its competitors, maybe see it alongside a competitor, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure I answer you both in the comment section and in future videos. And if you wanna see this vehicle in person, you can swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. This is Canada's huggable car dealer. They give me complete access to their entire vehicle line so I can do videos for you, but they are also amazing to deal with. And if you're looking at this compared to a Civic or a Kia or a Hyundai or something else, you probably want to come here because they will take care of you. You'll have the same salesperson giving you the same sets of numbers, so you're comparing apples to apples, and they don't care which one you buy. They just want to make sure that they choose the best one for you. So shout out to Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. Let's get going with this review. So when I talk about typical sedan things, one of the examples you see right here is this fairly low hood. The Sentra as a whole is low compared to other SUVs especially, but even compared to other sedans. A lot of sedans try to give you that raised up look or raised up height, raised up driving position, those kinds of things. The Sentra doesn't try to make things that it isn't. It is what it is, and that low hood height is important for a couple reasons. First of all, there are crash safety standards across the world for pedestrian safety, and a lower hood generally has an advantage in those types of situations for pedestrian safety. But it's also, if you took a fuel efficiency rating of an SUV, even if it matched the sedan, in general real world life, having a lower vehicle with less frontal area generally gets you better overall fuel efficiency in that vehicle. So that low height really matters. And then they do some cool things with it. You have a lot of vehicles out here with a radar plate out front. That's part of the safety system. It's part of the smart cruise control. And it's usually an ugly black plate, but more vehicles are moving to throwing it behind the logo, and that's what Nissan does here. So you have no big square black in here. You have a functional logo that has a radar plate behind there. We'll talk about some of the technology that that gives you in a second. So that's kind of the front end here. Let's go to the back end as we work our way through the vehicle. Coming along the backside of the Sentra here, you still see that sedan type look. Again, this lowered down version is in general more aerodynamic than an SUV. So again, like I said, with that same fuel efficiency rating, generally speaking, in your everyday driving, a sedan will do better. So it kind of cuts off cleanly and small. You've got a cool little design detail here of this black area here. Gives you a bit of a floating roof. Overall, I'm not sure if it translates on video, at least to me it doesn't translate in pictures when I see it, but when you see this car in person, it does look a little higher class, and even little things like the lights in here. A lot of manufacturers will have very plain lights. They've got some nice stylized lights over in here. And then coming around the bottom here, an aerodynamic piece this is called the diffuser with these sort of fins in there. Normally that's sort of a black piece when they do that on a car. On this one, it's body color. So again, feels a little higher class than it probably is. The other feature worth pointing out are little dots back here. They are proximity sensors. So you have the backup camera, that's standard on every car now, but those proximity sensors also allow you to essentially let the car see things that maybe you're not seeing in the backup camera and warns you what might be near on either side of the rear end of the vehicle when you're backing up. Now these cars also have a number of safety features that can include extra braking abilities when you approach something, so the car is capable of automatically stopping depending on the trim levels, and those sensors can play into that nowadays. They used to be just for beepers, now they do more things. Let's check out the trunk really quickly and then we'll go rear seat and then we'll head into the driver's seat where there's a lot of technologies, and that's where I'm going to try to start showing you some things that probably the other videos aren't showing you. All right, taking a look at the back end here, one thing I like about the Sentra is it does have an illusion of extra width here. It feels like a bigger car than it is. If it didn't say Sentra on that, you could have told me this was the new Ultima, even the new Maxima kind of thing. It just has some presence to it, which is something I really like. So we're gonna pop the trunk in a second, but I wanna show you the key fob first. Nissan's key fob is one of my favorites, and it's just one, because it's very simple, remote start up top, lock, unlock, and the hold button for the trunk. But this is a very thin and small key fob. I think a lot of manufacturers have kind of gone crazy with oversized key fobs. We're already sticking our big phones in our pockets. We don't need to stick large key fobs in there. So again, thin, compact, easy. We're gonna hold this button right here, let that trunk pop. It doesn't pop all the way up like the Jetta's, just comes up like that. So we did a Jetta just the other day in case you wanna see that video. In here, Typical trunk stuff. What's interesting about this is there's really nothing in here. A lot of the SUVs, including Nissan's own SUVs, have hooks and grab things and other things like cargo nets and that kind of thing in their trunks. The sedan, you lose the capability of sticking large boxes in like you would in an SUV, but you have some security away from your passenger compartment, and it seems like Nissan doesn't really worry about giving you any kind of attachments or anything else. It's just a trunk. It is a 60-40 split down there. The benefit of a sedan is you have a longer floor than you would have in a typical SUV, but of course that smaller entrance. So not a whole lot to show, but it is very practical, it is very spacious, but no real features in the trunk. So as we hop in the rear seat, let's just take a look at the overall view here. Again, you can really see that floating roof kind of design there. It kind of like gives you that, I don't know, it's just a cool styling thing. Again, it makes it feel to me a little bit more upper class. One thing I like here is door handles are body color painted, and I'll show you just as we go to the driver's button, if I don't show it to you later, the button there to unlock and lock the door with the proximity key fob is also body colored. That's pretty rare on this class to have that body colored, so I got to give Nissan some credit for making it look really good there. Jumping on the inside, rear seats can be a priority for a lot of small car manufacturers or not a priority. Generally in this class, they don't offer as much as a higher end SUV, and that makes some sense. Generally, people who are buying sedans are not regularly taking extra people. A lot of the people who are taking extra people on an everyday basis tend to get sedans, so there's a few little concessions here, you know, for cost, and they can put more in the front if they don't put as much in the back. You have a single USB port right there. It's just a simple USB-A port there. There is a USB-C port in the front as well. There's a single pocket here. That always bothers me because in today's day and age, I feel like if you put one pocket in, why not just put the second pocket in? And then you have cup holders on the armrest. Now, some cars in the class don't even have an armrest. So again, you have to remember what class we're in right now. Every manufacturer seems to give a few less options in the rear seat, but let's take a look at what it's like with me sitting in there. So sitting back here in the Sentra is an interesting experience for me because first of all, I'm about 6 feet tall. I've got enough headroom here, so that's fine. Knee room is also, whoops, going this way. Knee room is also just fine sitting behind myself. This is where I would need the seat adjusted for me to sit there. So again, a 6-footer can sit behind a 6-footer, no problem. Now, let's put this armrest up out of the way for a second. Take a look at my legs here. I would like to have a little bit more of a raised seat just to give me a tiny bit extra support. My legs are just starting to come off the seat there. You do have that kind of support in something like the Qashqai. So again, it's fine. It's not uncomfortable. What's interesting to me is so many vehicles have moved to a firmer top layer of cushion. Nissan keeps it a little bit softer, and I think some people, you know, I tend to gravitate myself to a firmer seat anyways. Jettas and Volkswagens have always done this. I say Jetta because we just did a Jetta sedan a couple days ago. Volkswagen's always had that firm seat, but Nissan continues to make a softer seat, and that's more and more rare. So again, good support underneath these seats, but a little bit more soft top layer of cushion, which kind of gives it a nice cushy kind of feel. Generally, the support is there. It's fine back here. You do have nice soft touch armrests down there as well, which isn't available in every rear seat of every car in this class as well. So that's good stuff. Again, not a ton of features, but just a different, unique feel with that little bit softer cushioning. Now let's take a look at the front seat where we can talk about some of the technologies and features in there. All right, since we already showed you the door button there, we'll show you the little extra mirror feature here. Not every car has the signal light in the mirror there, but you do have that there. And I just think that looks, again, it makes the car look a little higher class than it probably is. So you've got that LED signal light there. Jumping in here, this is a manual seat in this trim level. So you still have height adjustment with that lever there. You can push it down or pull it up to sort of pump it up or pump it down. Works quite well. Pretty typical for the class nowadays. Again, soft touch armrests here. Generally soft touch everywhere. This is, again, softer touch, not a hard plastic, which again, some vehicles will go full hard plastic here. This is firm, but still soft to the touch, soft on your elbow and your bones and stuff. All right, you do have an eco button down here. That's what that is. We're going to talk about that eco button in a second here. Trip reset, dash brightness right there. Let's go fully wide angle for a second as we jump into this vehicle, and we'll show you what the dash looks like. So again, keyless entry, which means it's a push button start. Push button start is near the gear shift. That makes sense to me because again, I'm holding the camera in my right hand, but typically your right hand would hit the start button, throw it in gear, and that's all in the same space. Let's turn that radio down there. All right, so coming in here, you've got some very good things going on. Let's just go a little bit closer. Let's go a little closer again. So center of the dash, we got the 2 gauges on either side, but we got center of the dash, a pretty good display in here. This is some of your safety features that you have. So again, we've got that smart cruise control that can give you sort of some lane information as well as some vehicles in front of you when you have that smart cruise control. So that means it can keep the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. So let's just go for a second what we're talking about here. If you're following someone in front of you and you have it on cruise control and you come up to a car, let's say you have the cruise control for 120 kilometers an hour and that car's going about 110 kilometers an hour. This car will keep its distance from that car until it clears or until you pull out and allow it to clear. And then it'll go back up to your cruise control speed. So that's standard on this vehicle here, which is nice to have. We're gonna go right back in here. So this is a display that helps you with that. It'll show the vehicle there. You can set that distance between this and other vehicles. What I really like though is the number of features in here. So VDC settings is vehicle dynamic control. It's essentially your stability control, which is over your traction control. You've got driver assistance features. We'll just click into that for a second. So lane safety, blind spot, emergency braking, speed limit sign. So this car can display your speed limit signs in this into this display here. So what that means it's going to do is, let's go wide angle, sorry about that. What that means it's going to do is it's going to take a camera up here looking forward. When it sees a speed limit sign for a road, it's going to display it in here. So if you miss the speed limit sign because you've driven past it, it'll kind of get memorized and shown in your display screen there, and there's a display screen to show that if you want to. Let's just zoom all the way into right there or so. So again, parking aids, we talked about some of that stuff. So there's a lot of features here in the safety type stuff in there. So we're going to go back out here. And then there's the eco mode settings. This is interesting. Most vehicles have that, that eco button like we showed you right there. A lot of vehicles in the class will have that drive mode button or that eco mode button. What this one does is allow you to customize things. So let's just jump in there for a quick second and you can see how to customize this. So the cruise control can be set to more of an eco mode, and then so can the air conditioning. A lot of the time you don't see that air conditioning eco mode change on something that's not electrified, like an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid. They have a little lower setting. So basically what that means is the air conditioning won't create as much cold air, and on, unless it's the super hottest days, you don't actually need peak air conditioning performance. But the idea being, if you do go set that eco button over there, you can have it dial down your air conditioning just a little bit on the non-crazy hot days, and that will assist you in fuel efficiency because of course air conditioner runs off the engine and that can create some, a little bit less fuel efficiency. So kind of some neat features in there. We'll just go back here for a second. Let's just zoom right back in again. We'll go back again. And then you've got tire pressure monitoring settings, vehicle settings as well. There's all kinds of stuff in here. There's just a lot of features that you can change on a vehicle of this class, which is very, very good. So I'm quite happy with what I see here. Let's go fully wide angle again. And you come over here. Over here, this is not unique design. If you got in a typical Hyundai Elantra, or you got in a Kia Forte, or you got in something like this, or there's a lot of cars that kind of do a very similar screen look here. But what is different is sort of the way they do the vents in here. So they got the round vents in there, very easy to adjust and move here. You can kind of close those vents off by turning the centerpiece like that. So again, 3 vents in the center allows you to really customize where you want that air. Blows quite well. And then you have a dual zone automatic climate control system here. So what we have is I can set driver side to 20, I can set the passenger side to say 22, and you can set that up. And again, with the air vents being able to aim, you can control that left and right, and you can sync those back together by just hitting the sync button there. So that's something that you don't always see in a car of this class. You also have rump roasters here. I'm going to turn it on now and tell you when I start to feel it, because they work pretty quickly in these cars here as well. We mentioned the USB port in the back of the car. There are 2 USB ports in the front here. One is a USB-C, one is a regular USB. So in the back it was only USB. Hey, I already feel those seat heaters right now. So there's, again, how quickly those seat heaters work in warmer weather. And then you also have a 12-volt port down there. So good spot to put your phone in here. We're going to show you one other cool spot that is interesting to me. Down here, automatic transmission. It's a CVT transmission. That's pretty class typical right now. Good for fuel efficiency, fine for driving. Nissan does a good job with them. I'm going to have your cup holders here, a little spot there for change or something like that. Let's just go wide angle for a second as I pop open this armrest. Now, can we see this? Let me see. It's tough to film here. Okay, see, in your armrest here, there's a little slot here. What that does is it allows you to put your phone in the side instead of like this. So if you do want to hide your phone in this center console area, you can set it on the side so when you drop something else in, you're not dropping it on your screen. So it's pretty cool the way it lays down here against the wall as opposed to sitting flat. Just a little detail there. There's literally nothing else in there. No 12-volt port, no USB port, but there is that little design angle, which again, just a little bit of a smart thing. Take a quick look at the steering wheel here. We've got your smart cruise control buttons here. Again, typical for the class, very simple to figure out with your phone buttons right there. And then you have your audio, and this control here was controlling that dash over there. So very simple to control. Everything here is really good. And we'll talk about some safety features as well in a second here. Actually, let's just talk about them right now. This car has blind spot detection like we talked about, but it has the light in here, not out on your mirror. So just a little different way of doing it with Nissan compared to other cars. What that does is, again, gives you rear cross traffic alert, which means when I throw the car in reverse, like I'm gonna do right now, and you take a look at your backup camera, you can only see a certain field of view right there. And if I was to look out this window right here, and there was a minivan parked beside me, I wouldn't be able to see, let's say, my tripod, right? Let's say my tripod is a vehicle or a car coming across my path. Well, the rear cross traffic alert uses the blind spot detection sensors or radar system to warn you of a vehicle that is about to cross your path. So when the very back end of the vehicle is free from that minivan I'm parked beside, it can see left and right further than the camera and potentially further than you as a driver, and it can warn you. So it's a good use of that blind spot detection with rear cross traffic alert. And in this vehicle, it's capable of stopping if someone crosses your path. Now, those parking sensors that we talked about on the back, those little circles on the back of the car, you can see here, if I had an obstacle to my left, this would go, you know, progressively different colors, this one here or that one there. So if I'm not paying attention to, whoa, sorry about that. If I'm not paying attention to everything I see right here, I will get a warning over here, but which side something is on, and I can just double check that camera to make sure I'm seeing everything there. So safety features, again, forward collision avoidance, including pedestrian detection. So a lot of vehicles in this class, they will see a vehicle in front and it's capable of slowing down or stopping if it sees a vehicle if you're not paying attention, applying the brakes essentially if you're not paying attention. A lot of vehicles can see vehicles, but not everyone in this class can see pedestrians. You have the pedestrian capability in this car as well. So safety features are really top notch in this vehicle. So let's talk about what this vehicle is and isn't, and let's talk about who it is and is not for. First of all, if you go on Nissan's webpage right now, it tells you about Thrilology. This is their new marketing slogan, Thrilology, which is only slightly better than Hyundai's new WAW thing, which does not translate from Korean to Canadian English anyways, but you know, Thrilology, and they're advertising and marketing this car as a sporty vehicle. Now, from a driver's position, again, we talked about that low front end, the low rear end. You also have a lower driving seat height. That works fine, you get good headroom. I didn't show you that inside, but there's plenty of headroom in there. But you do sit lower in this car. Some sedans sit a little taller. So the perception when you just sit in it at the dealership is, oh, this is a sporty vehicle. The reality is, it's class average for handling. It is not exceptionally sporty. There are sportier vehicles, but I think this still fits a huge section of the market that's looking for something that is very smart technologically. And what I mean is it has a lot of smart safety systems that assist the driver. They don't get in the way of the driver, but they assist them. And Nissan is one of those companies that doesn't wait to put some of their best technology in their lower cars and they only put it in their higher cars. They have really great safety equipment even in their lower trim cars. And the Sentra, as far as model lines, is a little bit of a lower line car. There's only the Versa below it in the sedan market. So Sentra's really their volume selling small car. So safety features are good, technology features are good. You have good stereo system as well with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, satellite radio included in this. So overall, you get a car that is very nice to sit in for the types of driving that 99.9% of these sedan drivers are gonna do. It's not the sportiest vehicle in its class, but it's not boring to drive. It definitely has a look that looks more upper class. If you're in a job where you need to appear like you have some level of success, you can buy the Sentra and it looks higher class in person than many of its competitors, which I think is a nice thing to have. So who is it for? You gotta have fuel efficiency as a priority. That CVT transmission with this engine, it's gonna prioritize fuel efficiency, and compared to a typical crossover, the body shape is gonna get you more real world fuel efficiency than the typical crossover, something like the Qashqai. Again, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but generally speaking, these lower cars get you that better fuel efficiency. Good size trunk, fine rear seat, but no features back there. So if you're always taking luggage, you just need space, fine. If you're taking rear passengers, they fit fine, but they're not gonna have all the luxury features that you can get in other vehicles within the class or outside of the class. But from the driver's environment, it's a very nice car, very class competitive. So when you look at the price of this car, if what you value is in the driver's environment, that's where they spend their money and you get good value. If you need a lot of features in the back seat, that's where cars get a little bit more expensive, but things you don't see in the driver's environment. I think the typical sedan buyer drives mostly with themselves or one other person, especially small sedans, and that is where Nissan did a really good job of this car. So that's my review of the Nissan Sentra. If you want to know more about this car, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments below the types of things you want to know. If you own a Sentra, tell me what you love about it. And if you want to see this compared to other vehicles, I have complete access here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals to their entire vehicle lineup. So make sure you let me know, and I'll make sure I come back to vehicles like this and compare them with other vehicles so you have a better idea. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you want to see this vehicle in person, make sure you swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals in Fredericton. Thanks for watching.